Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
But just to finish off, we are going to do a little profile on De Zerbi. So for the Brighton fans, Premier League fans, and the Prem faces out there who don't know who Roberto De Zerbi is, Nima, can you just tell us a little bit about De Zerbi?
Well, he's an interesting one. He was born in Brescia. He was part of Milan's Primavera squad, and he was known to he was as a player throughout his career. He was given the nickname the Il Piccolo Genio, the little genius, because he was a left-footed midfielder who had incredible vision and had a good vision and quality of how to build play, and he could play as a trequartista. And it was in homage of Dejan Savicevic, the legendary Milan player. And then he didn't really ever have a great career. I mean, with Catania, he played in the Serie A. In Napoli, got them. Those were the peaks of his.
And my dad's hometown of Foggia as well.
Foggia. Yeah,
I have to mention that.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, absolutely have to. I think he took him to like a cup final. Not. I think it was Serie C Cup or something. I can't remember.
He was great at free kicks.
Yeah, left-footed as well. Yeah. No, I mean, as a coach, he got his big break when Maurizio Zamparini, the now deceased Palermo president, out of the blue appointed him to take over, gave him a 2-year contract to take over after Davide Ballardini was sacked. And he was appointed on the 10th of September in 2016. And on the 30th of November, he was sacked by Zamparini, because that's how Zamparini works. But what was interesting was that he was when he was appointed by Sassuolo, because he went to Benevento, and he did the club still got relegated, but. And he left them, but it was really interesting to see that he was brought to when he was brought to Sassuolo, and obviously he replaced Beppe Iacchini there. He signed a contract until 30th, until June 2020, and it was really interesting to see what he did there, because I mean, one of the first players, if I'm not mistaken, one of the first players that they signed from the Ballardini era was Manuel Locatelli. And obviously 2018-2019 season is probably the best season that Stefano Sensi has ever had. And that was under De Zerbi. He likes to play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. He's a huge fan of Pep Guardiola. He caused a bit of a ruckus when Chelsea won the Champions League against City, and saying, I'd rather lose the Champions League final playing like Guardiola than to win it playing like others did. And he's been a guest of Guardiola's. There's this photo of him and De Rossi on social media as well. But he's a very progressive modern coach. He absolutely hated the European Super League. He didn't want to play Milan because they were part of the clubs that were part of the Super League, and saying that, I have to play because my contract says I have to turn up, but otherwise I don't want to go there. Saying that they were trying to hijack football from, belonging to everybody, and they wanted to remove the meritocracy of football and so on and so forth. So he is a very modern coach. I think, given from what we've seen from Brighton, having taken over from Graham Potter, I think that's a really good appointment. Kind of the same kind of mold in that sense, that they are very modern, young coaches up and coming. His techniques, his vision of football, and his preparation is very modern. And I think it's an exciting choice that they're doing, for sure.
Yeah, and he's also fantastic at developing players, and that's something that we've seen at Brighton. We saw it under Graham Potter doing a great role in great job in developing and unearthing and developing players, something that's part of the Brighton project. And we've seen it at Sassuolo, De Zerbi. Look at what he did with Scamacca, with with Raspadori.
For me, the most important one is Locatelli.
Locatelli,
Locatelli for me really really is probably his best, like the greatest success story I think under De Zerbi. Stefano Sensi had his best season under, that was the season before he went to Inter, and that was under De Zerbi, 18-19.
Absolutely. And then we saw Berardi as well went on to another level, and we saw at the Euro 2020, Locatelli played a big role in Italy winning the title. Berardi also played his part, so he was he's had a big influence on the development of some really top young, mainly Italian players, but also other players as well. And
Jeremy Boga was pretty good under him, wasn't he?
Boga,
yeah.
Hamid Traore started to develop. He
Maxim
exploded
Lopez,
after he left.
Maxi Lopez,
So definitely, if whether he's a success or not at Brighton, one thing we can definitely expect is that he will help develop some of their players. And Brighton do have some exciting players, like Caicedo, for example, is a player I'm a very big fan of. So watch out for him to get even better under De Zerbi.
Listen to the full show and all other episodes by going to patreon.com/TIFP and become a member for only $2.99 per month.